that is Mr. Glenroy Hollis. Put your hands together for Mr. Glenroy Hollis, who will be speaking this evening, as well as Ms. Entrepreneur Springer, who is also in the evening. Give her also a round of applause this evening. I'm going to start by just giving a brief introduction into Mr. Glenroy Hollis before he starts his contribution. Especially known as Bongo Greece, he is a compassionate community servant of a Rastafarian son of Africa, with a strong foundation in the principles of Nigerian order. He is inspired to be a voice for the voiceless, of a beacon of hope for the hopeless. Bongo Greece has delivered papers and presentations at various national and international conferences, seminars, rallies, campaigns, and social media platforms promoting positive change and empowerment in the communities and individuals, holding positions such as acting chairman and corporate society of all missionaries of Rastafarians, international coordinator, or the globally representative of all missionary Rastafarians and representation committees of Trinidad and Tobago. So put your hands together and welcome Mr. Glenroy Hollis. He will be our first speaker, so you can reach for the microphone and then do someone to check.
Greetings each and everyone. I greet you in the precious name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Melanie. I hold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren and sisters to dwell together in one perfect love and unity. Like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down to the skirt of his garment. As the Jew of whom and the Jew that descended upon the mountain of Zion, there the Most High commanded His love and blessings, now and forevermore. I greet you, brethren, greetings, blessings, and royal salutation to each and every one. Well, the topic this evening for me is on cannabis. So excuse me while I like my split. Take it slow, take it easy. After me. So part of my discourse, I will try to touch on many little points that could be educational to ones and ones here, because I realize that there are a lot of stalls around, and most of the stalls around are people who actually have most of their products into infused cannabis. However, having a knowledge of the whole setup of the cannabis industry is very good, because cannabis is the future. So I greet you once again with one perfect love. Rastafari. Rastafari declare that the herb is part of our vine culture, which is birthed in the chalice and fulfilled in Malachi 1, verse 11, 104:14 for the service of man. God made the earth yield healing herbs, which the prudent man should not neglect. Genesis 1, and God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which the fruit of a tree yielding seed, you shall eat for meat. The gospel according to St. Thomas. You have 5 trees in paradise. Whosoever knows them shall not taste them. Revelation 22:2. And I, John, saw the new Jerusalem, and he showed me a pure river. On either side of the river was the tree of life. Again, cannabis had been an integral part of all the world religions from over 2,500 years ago. The Chinese, the Africans, the Indians, cannabis was used as some either for religious purpose, funeral purpose, or medicinal purpose. However, over the years, as Rastafari, the Rastafari movement, we had been stigmatized, brutalized, and dehumanized for the use of this herb. However, cannabis has always been an integral part of the Rastafari movement. It is part of our culture, because as Rastafari we are eco-friendly, and we really deal with consider the environment as part of our holistic life. Today, all that the Rastafari had been saying for years about cannabis, today when you look at it, everybody tend to now gravitate to it, because there are so many sick people today. everyone wants to go back to their traditional way of life, traditional herbs, because natural opioids are no longer helping, and hence the reason, it's amazing how the Rastafari survived, in all these penalties and in all these things. So today, where the cannabis has now become over a $50 million green gold enterprise, it is wise that, we accept the policy of cannabis, and understand the uses of the medical uses of cannabis. Now, one of the things about cannabis today, the All Mansions of Rastafari, to which I am the acting chair and general secretary, we have, as a stakeholder, had advocated the government for the legalization or the decriminalization of ganja. Today in Trinidad and Tobago, everyone could move with 30 grams of cannabis, or at least plant 4 trees in their yard, which is quite good. Because today, there are so many people suffering with so many different complaints that cannabis can help. However, it must be taken into consideration that under federal law, cannabis still remain under Class A schedule, which means to say, under federal government, it has no medicinal value or it is addictive, which is contrary to the truth. Because over the years, there are many persons who have found results. I personally saw a person who suffered from epilepsy, who used to do a little work for me. And every time this brother catching this thing, I give him a couple drops of oil. And I was amazed to see how fast he recovered and how it helped him during the course of his lifetime. So there are medicinal properties in the cannabis. So today, we are impeded in really making the kind of products that we would want from cannabis because of, the Schedule A. So I would advise ones and ones, as Rastafari, the Rastafari movement will be given sacramental rights. And again, cannabis still remain under the Dangerous Act of Trinidad and Tobago. The Rastafari movement is seeking to have sacramental rights. However, sacramental weed is a sacred weed. The word sacrament, as you know, even from the Catholic Church and all that thing, the sacramental grapes is grown differently to make the wine. Similar, the sacramental herb is grown differently from the other herb in terms of Rastafari's sacramental herb, sacramental weed. Because weed is an integral part of Rastafari culture. And as such, when we look at the communion of the bread and wine within the Catholic Church, in Rastafari, our sacrament of the herb is different, where as Rastafari, we use our cup and our chalice, and party chalice from the left and right. In all the sacraments that has been taken in our assembly and in our groundations, there is no smoking without giving reverence to the Almighty. I am. So every time the chalice is light, we always give thanks and praise. It is always necessary that in any religion, parents must be active in their children's faith. So as in the Rastafari movement, Rastafari is a communal religion. And within the Rastafari movement, our children who attended all our assemblies and our gathering is part of our drumming, is part of our chanting, and is part of our whole ceremony. However, the children in our church does not partake or participate in the offering of the herbal sacraments as to the other churches like the Catholic churches. I mean, within the Catholic churches, you know that at the age of 7 to 8 is where you receive your first reconciliation and your first Eucharist. At 14 to 15 is where you would make confirmation. In the Rastafari movement, it's totally different in the way that we deal with the sacredness of the herb. Today, while people are planting the herb in their yard, you must understand that not every Rastafari was totally persecuted. Our family had been mashed up. Our family had been destroyed because of this plant. Ganja is part of the Rastafari lifestyle. However, you must understand that it's not all Rastaman smoke. I don't. I smoked for so many years that at one time I became smoking. So today, I would eat my ganja and I would use my ganja in cannabis oil. You, as a person growing your 4 trees home, smoking is a choice. If you grow your weed nice and crisp, you can harvest your pods, your flowers or your weed, and cut it up together with your cane and make a nice salad where you have all the nutrients of the herb. Smoking is a personal choice. So there are ways to, cannabis is used as a form of relaxation. It's a form of mood. You know what I'm saying? I remember the very first time that I smoked cannabis. The feeling was awesome. Awesome. I could have married that same day because I was feeling nice. The original cannabis had a particular mood, and actually keeping the family because it had a mood in it. Today, however, the cannabis that you are seeing your children smoking today is something totally different from the weed that we know many years ago. The most active in cannabis is THC. THC is the psychoactive part of cannabis. Then you have the other part of cannabis, which is called CBD. CBD, which is cannabidiol, is what most persons you see today that making all these shampoos and all these soaps and everything are using to infuse in their products. In the coming years to come, all drinks from Cokes in the tin will be Kiana Cokes. From beverages, all beverages will be infused with CBD. CBD is used for inflammation, sleep, quite a lot of inflammatory matters, quite a lot of things is made. And today, while you use cannabis, you can use CBD from your cannabis into your shampoos, into your soaps, into your topicals, into your drinks. It's now an important part of the daily life. There are many people who went to school 15 years ago and have 7 subjects. However, today, in holding certain office in society, they find themselves having problems not being computer literate. Time changes. Today, cannabis is actually the product that is taking over the market today. And it is nice today for once to really get into the downstream industry. As African people, 2024 will be the end of the decade for the people of African descent. Our governments have done nothing for us. They have not helped us. Today, we need to be, it feels so good to see so many entrepreneurs here today. We need to encourage our children and encourage each other how we can become entrepreneurs. Again, as I say, cannabis is the future to get into the cannabis market, understanding the difference. Again, I wish to say that, remember as I said earlier on, when you eat the cannabis, you don't get high. Only when the cannabis is heated, only when it is heated, the psychoactive part explodes into it. It's just like tomatoes. We eat tomatoes every day at home. However, slicing tomatoes on a plate and eating just so, to me, have absolutely no value. It's just eating it just so. In order to get the most active ingredient in tomato, which is the lycopene, it must heat. Only when you heat the tomato, you fry it or whatever, then you will get the main active ingredient in it, which is the lycopene. Same as growing cannabis or any other plant. Growing plants or growing cannabis is like bringing up children. If you don't take care of your plant, pests will eat it. Pests will eat it, it will die, all kind of things. It's similar with your kids. If you don't take good care of your kids and proper training and certain things, they will just go to the other side. So it's nice again to encourage ones and ones to the whole understanding the whole molecular and compound. There are over 117 different chemical compounds. Understanding when you smoke, why when a person smoke, what causes them to get high? Why do they get high? You know, again, as I said, it's because of the psychoactive effect. But however, you must understand that every single person that is in this room has a system in them called the endocannabinoid system. The endocannabinoid system actually interacts with the cannabinoids from the weed. If you look at a cannabis plant, you would see the flowers of the plant. The cannabis plant, cannabis is a dioecious plant. Cannabis either comes in male, female, or hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means that one tree you can see a male and a female on the same tree. However, understanding the resin, which is a female plant, the male plant, which is considered today as hemp, which has less than 2%. The reason why hemp is being planted so close to each other is that it can grow tall. Hemp has been used for paint, varnish, rope, paper, anything you can make, clothes. The best clothes you can wear is out of hemp. That's a variety of the cannabis. However, the cannabis itself, right? Because if you look at hemp seed oil, which is under 2%, anybody here can have hemp seed. You could cook with hemp seed oil for your daily physical, upkeeping. Whereas with the cannabis oil, right? Cannabis oil, in order to have the CBD must remain at 3%. Anytime CBD is over 3%, it has a trace element of THC. So that is why even today, when you're purchasing oils, like cannabis oils, you would see quite a lot of manufacturers would say CBD oil. Sometimes it have no CBD in it, sometimes it have nothing in it. Because most oils today are infused with different carrier oils. Carrier oils is like avocado, grapeseed, olive oil, and all these oils. It is used today. However, I feel sorry for cancer patients. Most cancer patients, whether it be prostate cancer, womb cancer, breast cancer, the pains that they go through, these oils help. Cannabis oil help for these complaints. However, persons requiring oil for cancer would actually need an oil that has a THC in it for the pain. Inflammatory matter, sleeping and all these things, you would have CBD. But for pain, you need the THC. And it is important how the THC is extracted. So having a knowledge about the oils and this thing you're going to buy, because there are so many sick people, as I said it earlier, people buy these oils. Some, when you look at it, so it's totally green, because of the fact of the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll. If you grow ganja at home and you post-harvest it, and you don't know how to cure it, any medication you have, whether it's in liquid, that you keep in the light does actually break it down and destroy whatever is effective within the herb or within the liquid. So understanding how to cure your leaves, how to cure your plant is very important. Again, cannabis is being pollinated by wind pollination. Today again I say that it is a nitrogenous plant. Today you see most people growing cannabis at home and they are feeding the cannabis with bat feces, chicken feces, goat feces in order to get it to pulp really nice. I am against that as a Rasta man. Once you are putting feces to the plant, it means the plant will be very high in toxicity. That is why for medical marijuana, you have to test the toxicity, the lead, the pesticide, and all these different, the nutrient, all these different things that you actually nurture the weed from small. So growing your own herb, really and truly, is one of the best and safest way today. You understand what I'm saying? Understanding the herb. Another thing too is that, I'm a herbalist, and I can tell you, people today are very, a lot of sickness. However, right in the yard have all the answers. The herbs that is grown in certain European countries are not always susceptible to you. The herbs in your yard that you grow culturally is always much better for you in terms of your health. I would get up in the morning, I would drink a zabuka leaf, I would drink a mango leaf. If I want to clean up my blood, I would drink some shining bush. I would have my cannabis leaf tea when my throat scratched me. I would have my guanamba fay, you know. Local herbs is what is actually keep you. So today, again, as I say, having a proper understanding of your cannabis plant in your yard would help. You know, my brothers and sisters, would actually help. And understanding the different, the way the different cannabinoids work within your system is very, very, very important. You know, because too many times, you know, we buy a lot of stuff that is totally unhealthy towards our system. So while I share this cannabis knowledge this afternoon, you know, in my discourse, I would like to probably pause for a little while, and where ones who are interested in the cannabis industry can really ask pertinent questions about the harvesting, about the growing of the plant, why when you smoke it just get high, what causes a person to get high when they smoke cannabis. And again, as I say, it must be noted that as Rastafari, according to our history, it is said that these Indian immigrants who came to the West Indies brought cannabis with them. Even in the history of Jamaica, you would see that cannabis was brought to Jamaica by the East Indian immigrants. In Trinidad and Tobago, it was also, history shows that it was also brought here by the East Indians. Because many years ago, you could go to any parlor and buy cannabis legal. Cannabis only became illegal after the 1961 convention by America. There were three conventions: the 1961 convention, the 1971 convention, and the 1988 convention against illicit and dangerous drugs. However, history is something that can always be challenged. Though, I mean, what I can say about the Indians is that the Indian immigrants who came here introduced the plant in terms of their religious ceremonies, in which they used to use the plant for their spiritual ecstasy. And that's what I'm saying? So it was widely used among the Indians. However, the early government of Trinidad and Tobago tried their best to take away the plant from those Indians and them, because Trinidad is a cosmopolitan country and they didn't want such a trend to spread among the different citizens of the country at that time in terms of cannabis. The Indians smoking cannabis, you know, they didn't want that to really spread among the other citizens. So after the 1961 convention, in the 1900s, they came and established a tax. They came and established a tax on the ganja, 100 pounds that was to pay. The Indians decide, no, listen, no way. Because the Indians, the earlier people today, never knew anything about the word marijuana. You see the word everybody talking about marijuana? Marijuana is an American-derived word for American problem. What they know about is ganja or weed. Nothing about marijuana. Marijuana comes from a Portuguese word which means a Portuguese word which means marijuana, which means intoxicant. So, you know, to become intoxicant. Only when you drink you become intoxicated. As I said, they take away the weed from the Indians. Why the weed was taken away from them is, remember that the earlier slaves, the African slaves, arriving in Trinidad, if you notice, in planting all this sugar cane, rum was always native to Trinidad and Tobago. Not ganja, rum was native. So they take away the ganja from the Indians and give them rum. And they get hooked on it very fast. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're going clear with that. You understand? So this is how it started. And the eradication of ganja in Trinidad and Tobago started and was spearheaded by the flying squad under Mr. Burroughs, where risk search and arrest. Rastafari families were really mashed up. As a Rastaman, even I passed through the channels of charges in that. It was terrible. Lock up for one joint, families crying, Rastaman getting shoot, you know, destabilization of your whole family. All because of poverty. Mostly biases among the poor and downtrodden was the ones that was thing. Because, don't you know, according to the Constitution, right? According to the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, right? According to the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, which states, right? The Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, Part 1, Section 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. A nation is founded upon the principles that protect our fundamental human rights and freedom, such as, this is one of the greatest parts of our Constitution, freedom of conscience and religious belief and observance, and freedom of thought and expression. However, as a Rastaman, we have been hindered from the freedom of our conscience and our thought. We have been hindered in enjoyment of our life. And as such, being a citizen of the country, you could actually challenge the Constitution in the High Court. But again, if you don't have no money, and you don't have the battery of lawyers, then you simply have to go to jail. And this is what happened to the Rastafari movement over the years. So again, I will open for a couple minutes to ask a couple questions.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you touched on the fact that there is
Testing YouTube. You touched, good evening, thank you for your discourse on cannabis. You touched on the fact that ganja usage came to the Caribbean through the Indian population, and specifically the Hindu population. I want to find out if there is any solidarity between Rastafari and Hinduism, because, I mean, when we go into the mythology, ganja is Lord Shiva's plant. Shiva is also a Rastaman. Ganja was created by Lord Shiva to cleanse the earth of certain toxicities, right? And so I guess my question is, where is the synergy and solidarity between Hinduism and Rastafari in terms of understanding the connection? Because, you know, what we know of Rastafari, even in your own invocation at the beginning, was very Judeo-Christian, not necessarily acknowledging or recognizing that ganja, even within its sacramental use, in terms of originally in Jamaica, was something that came through the connection with Hinduism and Shaivism specifically. So I'm just wondering, where is the synergy and the solidarity between Hindus and Rastafari, if there is any, and if that is something that all mansions of Rastafari is looking at in the future?
Yeah, very good question. There is a synergy, because I mean, Lord Shiva is affiliated to ganja, the god of Bang, the god of Bang. So there is a synergy, whereas Rastafari, the cultural aspect of Rastafari is about the herb cannabis. Cannabis forms an integral part even in the Rastafari worship. So in the Rastafari worship, there is a similarity, because just as the Hindu women used to use the hookah, the women used to use the hookah where the water pipe used to pass and go around and all these things, you know. Again, giving praises to Lord Shiva. Today, the Rastafari had, in terms of the Rastafari now use the same hookah as a chalice, where the chalice is being passed among the different impulses of the order, from left to right. you know, giving thanks and praise, you know. And there is a synergy because all is what connects the different disciples or the different members into that personal trance, into that personal spell, into that personal communication. That's that psychotic, you know, feeling to bring to that oneness and that unity towards each and everybody. So it's a very good question, because this is why even today in the whole process of fighting for sacramental rights from the all-mansions perspective, the sacramental rights that will be given to Trinidad and Tobago would be given to the Rastas and the Hindus because of the usage of the herb over time. Because today, many years ago, when the Indians going to plant weed, when the Indians planted weed for their religious purposes, those weed used to wet with milk, pure milk. The weed was hard and was totally different. No, absolutely no chemical. The process in the way they used to deal with the weed is similar to the way the Rastaman would treat his sacramental weed. Because today they speak about medical marijuana, but just planting the herb alone is a whole spiritual vibe. That is why today weed for money is like prostituting the plant. Cannabis is one of the most expensive horticultural plants, and it is being prostituted today because of money. That is why I like when you use the term synergy. That is why today buying weed and buying certain things, it has no synergy. It has certain spiritual effects that you're supposed to get from it, you will not get because of the way how it is grown and the way how it has been handled. So it's a very good question. Anybody else would like to?
Good afternoon. Now, we are supposed to plant 4 trees. Now everybody gets to go for 4 female trees. So if I get 4 male trees, right? Or I plant, let us say I plant 6 trees hoping to get 4 female, and I end up getting, they will still charge me for those male trees.
Okay, no, I mean they cannot charge you for male tree. They could only charge you for the female tree because only the female resin. The male tree is under 2%. The male tree is not illegal. It's the female tree. However, if you are growing 6 plants in your yard and you have 2 male trees, you don't want that there. Yeah. Because those 2 male trees is going to spoil your whole 4 female trees. Because as I said, marijuana is being, or cannabis is being pollinated by wind pollination. So those 4 trees, the wind is going to blow that there and turn all your sensimania into seeds evermore, real seeds.
Okay, seeing that you are versed on it, so let us say I don't know much about cultivation, but I plant 4 trees and I'm seeing 4 trees coming. How will I be able to differentiate which is male and which is female?
From the time your cannabis reach about this height, so, right? About this height, so. What has happened with the male? The male is end up sending out a flower. From here, so you will see a stem coming out. But the stem that coming out here will be like a bunch of grapes. As you see those set a little seed, in the flowers you will set a little seeds with a bunch of grapes, that is male. When the flowers, when the female is flowers in, it's flower like how, you know, you will see a spun flowers itself, like spindles. You know what flower will show its spindle? Time you see that coming out, you will know what this is a female. But the minute you see from the stem here, you see a set of little small seed like balls, that is male. From the time you see that, even if you cut it out, you will find rapidly every morning you get up, you're seeing it. Now they are male trees. If you move it from here, and you have it probably in a room across, so there's flowers, you know. There's still flowers, you know. There's still flowers. It just make, you have a lower grade, you get a lower grade weed. But sometimes you get pot from it. But you don't want it in the yard because, as I say, because of cross-pollination, it will spoil all the good ones in the yard. So what you normally do with that, you root it out, and you draw it and drink it, or you make wine.
Well, I'm not going to ask if it doesn't have a purpose?
Yeah, you make wine, or it's very good. You draw that and make your medicine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. I have some trees in my yard. Now, on one side of the yard, I have a kind of sapate soil. Now, you just mentioned, now, the sapate soil, that sapate soil, if I plant any tree in that, like a mango tree, the mango comes out sweet. On the other side, it's not as sweet. But now you just mentioned that when you're planting your marijuana, some people use the stool of animals to put on your. You disagree with using that. What type of soil then would you what type of soil would give your marijuana the best good?
Well, you can buy your cocoa peat. You can buy your cocoa peat. Cocoa peat is bring the sensimania real nice, right? You can get your coconut husk from your dry coconut if you somewhere where people husk it, and make your cocoa peat. You can mix your cocoa peat, if it's dry season, you can mix your cocoa peat with rotten wood. You cannot use rotten wood on cannabis in rainy weathers like this, because it will rotten the whole root. It will rotten it totally. So you have to know when to use your rotten wood. But you're using the cocoa peat. The cocoa peat and good topsoil from in your yard. Good topsoil. You're making your own compost. All your fixed skin and everything you have in the yard, you make your compost. What I know is that the nourish cannabis really good and give you a nice weed is fish water. If you have the weed in the yard and you see the weed becoming yellow and the weed dying, the water you wash the fish in. When you go on the wharf and you get, or when the van passing. When the van passing, you stop the fish van and you take a bucket of herring water and feed the weed with that water. Man, it's big, nice pot. Real nice pot. When I tell you nice pot, best weed you're getting from there. When the weed starts to grow and come, if pests is attacking your weed, you don't need to spray your weed with all this kind of different spray. You go to the agricultural shop and you buy 2 dill. You know them dill tree? Some dill tree or some dill tree, dill and stinking Susie, and plant the dill between the tree. That runs away all the different insects from between your herbs. So fish water is very excellent. When your weed reaches a certain stage, apart from using the fish water, and your weed about after 3 months, and your weed about to come in, you can eat. There are many normal techniques. You can use your ripe bananas. You see, when you eat the bananas, you take the banana skin and you soak the banana skin into water. And when the banana skin in that water, every morning you take a portion of the banana water and you mix it in the ordinary water and you wet the root of your herb with it. That herb itself becomes hard like stone. hard like stone. So they are, from the banana. So there are natural things that you can do. But again, as I say, using animal feces is a terrible thing. Now, as a Rastaman, I tell you, there's a lot of things, I just coming off at Ganja for 1 minute. There's a lot of things in Rastafari. Look, fish. Rastas is still a vegetarian, eat fish. Not all Rastas will eat fish. Rastas are strict vegans. However, I have no against nobody eating these things. But I know if you have a cut, like you now take an operation, and you go on and eating fish, take long to get better. All these things are totally because of the toxicity level. Look at cashew nuts. Everybody so aristocratic, they like cashew nuts. But cashew nuts is real failure. Have you ever gone to the grocery or gone to any place and see and watch how cashew nuts is? All cashew nuts that you see in all places selling is pre-baked. It's pre-baked. You will never see raw cashew nuts because of the toxicity. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to understand the dynamics of things you do. Again, as I say, your eyes, you reach a certain age, your eye giving you trouble. Get some pomegranate and soak it in. Get some pomegranate and soak it in some Jew water and wash it and it will tell me better. They are natural things, you know, in Rastafari. Yeah. Any questions? Further questions? I mean, even the people who sell it would like anything to know about. I realize you all are selling a lot of soaps. You are selling a lot of things. How do you get your CBD? Do you buy CBD oils to make your infusion, or do you plant and would like to make your own CBD, or do you have? Are most of you into your own extraction? I mean, because people who doing a lot of soaps and all these different things, obviously they would make an investment into an extraction machine. Having an extraction machine at home, doing the extraction of your oils is very good. The only thing about extraction machines is that the heat. Some really produce a lot of heat. The heat. I mean, I've been on that span, I know what heat is like, you know. However, locally, understanding the herb, you can make your own oils at home in terms of the process. There is a process. Some people go on YouTube and learn how to put the punching in the pot and whatever and try to make that. But however, understanding the proper liquids to make the oils, because again, cannabis oil can last for about 5 years, 10 years, right? Again, if you pick all your weed from the tree and you put it into a Ziploc bag and you put it into the deep freeze, whenever you take out that and you smoke it, you knock out. Because freezing it actually preserves the THC in the weed. Other than that, keeping it anywhere else, the THC actually decreases. I see a sister want to ask a question.
You might.
It depends on what type of oil you want. Why? Okay, for instance, as I said earlier on, if you clean your weed and you put your bag of weed in your bag of sense in the deep freeze, the cold, whenever you're ready to make your oil, that oil will be a very strong oil because all the THC was able to preserve itself into the weed itself. Whereas if you have the weed outside for a couple days and all that, the time you're ready to make it, the time you're ready to dissolve it to make your oil and the different liquids, it would be alright, but the full potency of what you're looking for is different. That's why when you're buying even CBD oil comes in 3 stages. First, you have full spectrum, you have broad spectrum, and you have isolate. Isolate is where they take out only the CBD alone from the weed. The broad spectrum would be a broad spectrum of the different cannabinoids in the weed with a slight trace of THC. Full spectrum, again, different cannabinoids in the weed with that. So when you're buying CBD oil that you want to have pure CBD oil that you wouldn't get high or you want to use for your eyes, for your throat, for whatever, always make sure that you buy the one that is CBD isolate. Any other question?
Well, it's not. Good afternoon to the panel. Good afternoon.
Go forward.
Good afternoon to the panel.
The mic is off.
Yeah, get it on the mic.
Good afternoon to the panel and all the vendors and the specially invited guests and the patrons. My name is Melissa. I represent the brand Acacia, and I have a cannabis candle that I've realized that when I use about 2% of the CBD oil, it burns longer and stronger. So I don't know if you can shed some light into that issue, or why without the CBD oil it burns faster. The cannabis fragrance oil, because I also use a cannabis fragrance oil, it's not as potent as with the CBD oil. If you could give me some, if you could shed some light into that.
I mean, obviously, right? If you use, like you have, let me take for instance hemp, you have hemp seed oil, right? Hemp, you have hemp oil. Hemp oil CBD oil will be different from cannabis CBD oil, right? So the hemp oil itself is a fuel. That is why when you infuse the CBD oil into the candle, you will get a longer life because of the nature of the oil. You understand? That's why you could use those so same CBD oil, hemp oil nowadays for cooking. You could use it for fire. It's a fossil fuel. It's a fossil fuel. So that is why in incorporating it in the candle, you would actually get a nicer light and a longer light. You know, because it is a fossil fuel. You know. So that's why I say CBD. Everything today will be CBD. Now what is going on with us? We have to look at value-added products, like how you are making value-added products. Your own topicals, which means to say, your own topicals means to say like a pain balm, things for pain balm. That's a big business for pain balm. Creams, shampoos, all these things everybody going to take. But again, as I said, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is way behind time. It's way behind time because what is happening is this, right? The government is waiting for the proclamation to be signed by the president. However, while all these small people here is waiting for things to happen, the cannabis license authority is set up. But while everybody here is waiting, the big business people like West Indian Tobacco and all these different people are already into labs testing their products. So the time the whistleblowers come is because they are ready to come out with all the different products. But the other people now studying how to go and get testing, because the University of the West Indies, which is supposed to be doing cannabis research and development, is not doing no research and development of ganja. They are saying that they cannot get ganja and they don't have the license because it's under schedule A. So nothing is being done here. So everybody right now is in their private labs testing their products. You know? So you're on the right track. Any other questions? Anyone? Anybody else? Any other questions? Before I close, before I close up the floor. I mean, again, as I said, cannabis is the industry. It is what you're going to drink, it's what you're going to eat. You're suffering, as I see many ladies here, you're suffering, you have breast cancer, you have certain cancers, you need the cannabis oil. It does work. Imagine if you have a breast cancer, right? If you have a breast cancer or a womb cancer or such a mala prostrate, you can combine a cannabis oil with kosher root. You get the kosher. Kosher root is actually inhibit all the different cancer cells. And you could combine your cannabis oil with a kosher root and make your own medicine. In everything you do, it's all about dosing. Dosing means to say whenever you do something, you always start from low and go up. You don't start from high. You start from 1 drop, 2 drop, a cork, according to how you feel. So that is how your dosing starts, and according to how you feel, that's how you get your production and do that. So again, my brothers and sisters, are there any further questions? If there is no further questions, yeah, good afternoon. Well, once they are doing their stuff and they are studying their product, because there are labs right now that doing your products for labeling and doing a whole heap of stuff. The question about it is that you still have to be able to be in the right circles in order for the license. If you're not in the right circles to get a license, I mean, like I am the head of the All Mansions of Rastafari. So those register under the Rastafari entities. Rastafari already have sacrament. Like sacramental is going to come for the Rastafari. But however, under sacrament, there is no commercial gain. The word sacrament means no money. So unless you could come up with a way how to discover, cooperate corporate Sacramental. And if we have a dispensary under Sacramental, the only way I can make money off of that is if I open my membership, where every member puts something. Or I make one person get a license. But pertaining to what you said yourself, how do these people who have this thing to do? You could form a herbal cooperative. If you have a herbal cooperative, then you have numbers. If it's you by yourself and you're doing all of that and you don't have a team, then the license would be very, very exorbitant, because they set the license in such a high manner that the average small man who wants to become an entrepreneur will not get in. Yeah, he will not get in because of the license fee. Whereas in Barbados, what they do in Barbados is that the University of the West Indies set up first a 6 weeks course. So ordinary people could go and take the 6 weeks course. After the 6 weeks course, so while these people were taking the courses, they were certified. And after they were certified, then the license came out where I think it was this license started at $16,000 for a license. However, with the $16,000, they was able to pay half the money, and I think half the money you paid, half the information somebody, half the money, and they pay $235 a month until they don't pay up, which is quite reasonable, because they come like you paying a courts bill. Right? In St. Vincent, what they do with all these small farmers, they give all these small farmers in St. Vincent an amnesty for 3 years. So for 3 years, you can plant, make all your different stuff. And after 3 years of catching yourself under the amnesty law, then you would be able to, they would take for a license. In Trinidad and Tobago, I want to be honest here, I really don't know what's going on.
So on that note, I'd like to coming to an end because of the time constraints. So let's say please give a round of applause to Mr. General Hollis and his contribution. He does have a table at the end of the hall in terms of any other information you'd like to feed from him, so you can get other information in terms of that. And in the interest of time, we move speedily along to introduce one of the most prolific female playwriters, poets, activists of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region, and whose plays have been performed internationally and is critically acclaimed. They focus mainly on heritage and culture of her birthplace, Trinidad and Tobago. All of her plays, from harmony to diversity, Sincere, Wire Home, Baby Doll, Meets Midnight Rubber, contain authentic historical facts, which ensures that her plays are not only educational, but they reveal aspects of the indigenous culture of Trinidad and Tobago, which are still largely unexplored. So put your hands together and welcome Miss into her spring.
I'm going to be speaking on the role of African spirituality in emancipation. This is an emancipation seminar. And so I will begin by paying tribute to all our ancestors who died in the Middle Passage. All our ancestors, Bogbo Egung and Bilese Ludumare, Bogbo Egung and Bilese Ludumare, Bogbo Egung and Bilese Ludumare, all our ancestors who sit at the feet of God. African people, stand up. Millions were brought here, millions died in the Middle Passage. We must pay tribute to them. Bogbo Egung and Bilese Ludumare. And I want to pay tribute to Haiti, the mother of our emancipation. The mother of our emancipation. And I will pray like they prayed in Haiti. Atibon Legba, ouvrez bayon pour moi, Atibon Legba, ouvrez bayon pour moi. Let me pay tribute to Legba, and Legba Eshu, the opener of the way. The one who opened the way for emancipation for us. And that is the patois that we have lost, the patois that is still spoken in Haiti, and which some of us here still speak. So, in the patois, I'll say, bonsoir tout le monde, assis là. Good evening, everybody. Sit down. Thank you, Attila. So, I'm going to talk about the role of African spirituality in emancipation. And I want to talk about Haiti, A-Y-I-T-I, its proper name. And we pay tribute to those who were at the forefront of the revolution in Haiti. Names that we should know, but we do not know. Names like Macandal, Boukman, Cecile Fatima, and the great Dessalines. Indeed, our own great C.L.R. James, in a book that he called Black Jacobin, declares voodoo was a medium of conspiracy. In spite of all the prohibitions, the slaves traveled miles to sing and dance and practice their religion and to talk. And the prayer by Boukman at Bois Caiman on August 1st, 1791, at the start of the Haitian Revolution, goes like this. The God who created the sun, which gives us light, who rows the waves and rules the storm, though hidden in the clouds, he watches us. He sees all that the white man does. The God of the white man inspires him with crime, but our God calls upon us to do good works. Our God, who is good to us, orders us to revenge our wrong. He will direct our arms and aid us. Throw away the symbol of the God of the whites, who has so often caused us to weep and listen to the voice of liberty, which speaks in the hearts of us all. This is emancipation time. It pains me that when I do work in schools, when I meet young people, none of them know the date of emancipation. None of them know anything about that emancipation process. Our young African children are floundering in lack of knowledge of self. And I wonder why we are surprised when they commit crime. There are no monuments to their ancestors. There are no monuments to their ancestors. The education system teaches nothing about who we are. In fact, I want to make the bold statement that our education system seems to be in a conspiracy to criminalize our young black children, especially our boys. After the horror of enslavement, we are taught nothing about who we are, nothing about the greatness of our ancestors, nothing about what we have created. What the hell do we expect? Nobody granted Africans emancipation. It was fought for inch by inch, in open war, revolts, in marronage, and by marronage I mean people running away from the plantation. The historians have not paid much attention to this, and there seems to be a reluctance to investigate that. The researchers have found that Africans and African-inspired religions were always critical to any revolt against enslavement. There were no revolts on the plantation in which African spirituality was not involved. You're not hearing me, you're hearing me? We have had centuries of programming that makes us feel we are inferior. Our skin color, our hair, our clothes, our food, centuries of that inferiority. And we have made no effort. Our governments have made no effort to right those wrongs. If a child is kidnapped today and found a week after, there are going to be all kinds of psychologists, psychiatrists to investigate, to help that child, to help that family. None of that has happened for African people. In fact, what has happened is that the very thing that freed us, we are afraid of it. The most hated word, the most feared word, Obia. And Obia just comes from OBIA, the spirituality of the Akan people of modern-day Ghana. I will read a little bit about these people. The records of slave rebellions from the Virgin Islands to Suriname from the 17th through to the 19th century show that the rebel slaves par excellence were Akan, people who originated in the area of modern Ghana. They are the Coromantine or Coromanti people. They were particularly distinguished, especially in the record of slave trials, by their belief in Obia. So that the very thing that freed us, our African spirituality, is what we fear. So that what happens now, a lot of the time we go to the Ilays, we go to our yards, like Nicodemus went to Christ at dead of night. We still fear ourselves. The enslavers knew about the danger that Obia held for them. I will read a little piece of a poem that an English poet wrote. He said, "If thine own, thy children's life be dear, buy not a Coromantee, though healthy young, of breed too generous, for thy servile fields. They born to freedom in their native land, choose death before dishonorable bonds, or fired with vengeance at the midnight hour, suddenly seize thine unsuspecting watch, and thine own poem bury in thy breast." In Tobago, these Akan Obia people wage revolution from 1770 to 1776. You all know a place called Sandy Point in Tobago? Anybody here know? That is named after a great Akan called Sandy, who led revolts in Tobago in 1770. People don't know about that. They describe Obeah as a supernatural force given to man to protect and heal. The term also refers to the charms which derive their power from this force. And when the Akan were going into war, they would take their blood oath with the earth and swear to conquer or die. Enslavement was not an option. We have a very strange relationship with our blood. People in Trinidad, over the years, there were laws against the practice of Obeah, of their spirituality. And those laws were only removed from the statute books in 2000. And I might add, interestingly, by the Basdale family government. Very interestingly. There were laws banning the drum. There were laws against us assembling. The anti-Obeah legislation, what year is that again? 1868. So until 2000, you could be locked up for going in a Shango yard. Until the year 2000, when that law was moved by the Pointe government. And in that year, all the laws against us, the banning of the drum, all those laws were removed as recently as 2000. As recently as 2000. I want to give you all an example of a particularly brutal case. This happened in 1802. A woman called Thisbe and her husband Felix. Thisbe was accused of sorcery, dealing with the devil, poisoning. And I must tell you that our ancestors, especially our Obeah people who were fighting for freedom, were very good at poisoning the master. They knew all the herbs, as our brother just spoke about. They knew all the herbs and how to poison, and how to be a trickster like Eshu, and say, yes, Master Boss, yes, Master Boss, yes, and put the poison in the food. So Thisbe was accused of sorcery, dealing with the devil and poisoning. She was tortured for 5 months. They hung her, then took her down, cut off her head, burned her body, and stuck her head on a pole in the mountain. They cut off her husband's ears and banished him from the island. All because they felt she was practicing Obeah. It is very interesting that the plantation owner, a man called Bigora, who had all these poisoning commissions and was killing our people who were fighting against enslavement, he himself ended up getting poisoned. We have this strange relationship with our spirituality. All of us know the mighty sparrow sound, right? Mella, oh, you're making wedding plan, carrying the name to Obeah man. All you do, you can't get through, still married to you. But by the end of the song, what does Sparrow say? Papa Manisa is my grandfather. So we have this kind of strange relationship with our spirituality. One of our great warriors against enslavement, a man called Ulada Ekiano. He is one of the few who has left an account of life under enslavement. And in that account he asks, all ye nominal Christians, might not an African ask you, learn this from your God, who says to you, do unto all men as you should have them do unto you? We have to recognize that the truth is that the Christianization of our ancestors was part of keeping them quiet, of keeping them from resistance. One of them wrote a thing which says, baptize your slave, Almighty God shall bless the labor of his hands with more success. So they saw no problem with enslaving the body of the African, but trying to save his soul. The hymn Amazing Grace, which all of us like to sing, was written by a slave ship captain, John Newton. And it has been touted as an expression of the joy the slaves felt at the prospect of Christian deliverance from the miseries of slavery. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that, as my brother mentioned, we, in this decade, nothing has been done by our government to educate our people about our history. And true, we have had the removal of the physical chains, but the mental terror that Marcus Garvey talked about still remains, and that Bob Marley sang about, still remains. In our school system, recently I did a workshop on motherhood and mothering and so on. And I talked about Mother Earth. You know, we are going through this whole thing with climate change and all of that and the pollution. And some Christian schools withdrew their children from the discourse because they said there's nothing like Mother Earth in the Bible. So I want to say that although we have physically emancipated, there's a lot that is happening with the mind, and a lot of it has to do with the lack of recognition of our spirituality. I will just give a few examples. Some children I was taking care of came to me. Their teacher told them to write an essay. What are the good things about slavery? What are the good things about slavery? If your child came to you with an essay like that, what would you do? What would you do? I told the children to roll up the page, put a line across the road, and the teacher quarreled and said, but slavery saved you from hell and damnation, made you Christians. And I had to deal with it. There's another instance about a child coming home with an SBA for history. How did Christianity facilitate emancipation? from what I've read here, we know that Christianity was part of the enslavement. I mean, whatever your spirituality or religion, we have to recognize what is the historical fact. And the child was unable to do history because she would not do that as SE. I would not let her do that as SE. And despite the fact that I sent a list with all the sources that showed the negative, the teacher would not listen. The children go to school with these edicts that signify that you are Ifa Orisha, part of African spirituality. The most recent example I heard, the teacher said, pull it out. The child said, but miss, the Hindus have theirs and they are not pulled out. You are not a Hindu. Pull it out. These are things that are happening now. Are we alert? I am not speaking against anybody's religion. I just want to say that there is equality, which we have under the law, but is there equity? Equity is something quite different from equality. While we respect all religions, we have to look at what is happening with the sense of self of our children. I want to make a correlation with what happened during indentureship. At the end of indentureship, which was not like slavery, because there was somebody who was in charge of indentures, there were laws to protect the indentures. But what happened at the end of indentureship was that they set up 62 cow sheds. Remember, everybody laughed at the 62 cow sheds? But in those 62 cow sheds, Indian children were taught their history. They were able to retain their religion and their cultural forms. Do we see any reason in that for the way that they may have progressed? While we still run to our Elias, like Nicodemus went to Christ at dead of night. So I want to suggest that we have emancipation, but there is need to proceed to reparation. And that reparation is not about money, although we have here, but it's about giving recognition and visibility to our institutions, to our spirituality, to our way of life, to ensure that we have monuments and recognition. For instance, a simple thing like our great instrument, the steel band, that has come straight out of the god of iron and steel, the god of war, Odin. Our carnival, which is now taken over and taken away from the African, which was fought for in 1881. Our children do not know that history, that the carnival was theirs. So, there are all these things. I want to ask that in this emancipation time, we think of it not only as a way to dress up in nice clothes and join the parade. Yes, that too. But there is a fundamental need to find ourselves, to go back into our traditions, our spirituality, our beliefs, our way of life, to learn again the healing herbs all around us, to do the things of spiritual cleansing and healing that we have forgotten about, that our grandparents did. And it needs to happen for the sake of our children, for the sake of our children who are going astray. The earth is being once again fertilized by the blood of our children. What do we give them to live for? And in this society, when we look around, as the old people say, the fish rotting from the head. The fish rotting from the head. So, I just want to share maybe I'll stop there and ask if you have any questions, but I just want to make a few comments that our African spirituality was given some prominence by the Black Power movement of 1970. And because of that, there began a strong interest. One of the first acts of the Black Power movement was when we went into the cathedral and draped the white statues with black cloth. And that was a very important and moving moment, because it says, for you to achieve black power, you have to know yourself, you have to know your traditions, you have to know the beliefs and spirituality of your ancestors. So let me just stop there and take questions. Hopefully there will be many.
If anybody has any questions, you can just stand and pose your questions to the presenter.
There's a book called by Jamalea. Is that a good reference book to go to learn about African spirituality?
What is it called?
Jamalea. It was printed about 35 years ago.
It's vaguely familiar, but I don't know it. But there are many books that you could go to that will give information. In Trinidad, there's a book by Francis Henry, which talks about the history and development of Ifa spirituality in Trinidad and Tobago. And then there's a book, she has also written a book called He Had the Power by Papa Nisa. I'll try. Yes?
So there's a lot of academic work that's been done, which is not necessarily a good entry point.
Exactly.
For if you are looking for practical things, if you're looking for, a guidebook. If you go on Amazon and you look up Orisha, Ifa, there are now quite a few young people who are writing books. There's a woman on Twitter
who's Nigerian but lives in New York. Her name is Ehime, or she's doing a lot of stuff which is like, you know, Gen Z generation, it's very simple and very easy to understand. So she's giving practical things that you could do, like how to set up an ancestral shrine, for example, or how to cleanse your ori. You know, part of the challenge is that in order for African spirituality to survive, a lot of the practices went underground and, you know, were shrouded in secrecy. People didn't write things down because they had to protect it. And so now we have a problem where people are studying these forms, right? And so they're doing a lot of general work on the form, but they're not doing the sort of nitty-gritty work in terms of how is the form actually practiced. And so, you know, this is a challenge that the community has to overcome. There are quite a few Babalaos now who are writing books about the practice.
And she can always go to Cater's Institute. But I just want to say that my fellow pallialist, who rooted his contribution first in Christian dogma, did not do me the courtesy of sitting and listening to me talk about African spirituality when they're in this chapter. And I find this is disrespectful to African spirituality. I don't appreciate it.
I want to sincerely apologize unconsciously, Fernando. I sincerely apologize.
I'm not taking that, you know, because I'm not going to no parley like Nicodemus when I sat and listened respectfully.
Yes, I sincerely apologize.
That
it was done unconsciously.
And that is the worst part, that it was done unconsciously. You hear African spirit.
Listen. I wouldn't put that, because Rastafari is all about Pan-Africanism. Rastafari the progenitor. And today, again, as we say you speak about Christianity, and I have the deepest and most sincere respect for you, Mrs. Pearl. I have always have the greatest respect for you. However, again, as I say, in pertaining to the African knowledge, I know about as Rastaman. I go through real persecution as a Rastaman in terms of African consciousness and in terms of all of that. If you come to my house, don't judge a man the way he look on the street. Come home and him and see where he live. I know about African consciousness. I am also a member of the Emancipation Support Committee, where I'm also being invited by the Orisha. The Orisha, if I'm going to speak about African and I'm going to speak about the Orishas, I will speak about the Orishas. I will speak about the Yoruba, and I would also speak about Santeria. I am versed in all these knowledge. So I would not say that, Mama, I wouldn't say that, I apologize. So not accepting this is what caused us today in terms of not having that particular unity. Always, there's a thin line between ignorance and arrogance. So we have to be very careful.
Shame. Anyway, so I was saying, let me just finish what I was saying, which is that,
you were talking about
in terms of, I would suggest that, there are certain other social media accounts that you could follow. There's classes that you could do. So, but in terms of, and it's a problem. It is a problem that we don't have books that we can, I can't recommend a book that I would give to young people and say this is where you can get clear, concise, truthful information on Ifa Orisha tradition. I don't know what that book is yet. I will keep looking, or maybe I will have to write it myself.
Yeah, I agree that a lot of the information is very academic, and we need to have the practical down-to-earth things that will tell you how and to give you, simple prayers and, things that you do at the beginning of the day. Simple things like communion with your inner self. For instance, one of the first things that we are taught to do is pay tribute to your own. I think you know your inner self and to have that community between your holy and your people. To have that community.
I and I. Same thing.
I and I.
But I would like to ask a question, Auntie. In terms of being,
use the mic.
In terms of being a Orisha or a Yoruba, if you home and you have a stool in your yard, right, and someone come from Nigeria or some of those other countries, would they be actually allowed to go directly to your stool and speak in their language?
Yes, I don't know. I can't say what the relationship would be between you and that person, or what is in your stool and how you control it or govern it. That is a very individual thing that I would not be able to answer. I'm not a Babalawo, I'm not a Yanifa, so I wouldn't risk answering that question. Other questions? Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure being here this evening. My name is Marva Sandy. I belong to American Heritage Foundation. I don't have a question, but I need to say something about the children. I'm not speaking about Christianity, but I'm speaking about my organization. Before COVID and after COVID, we go to schools. We went to schools within the American community, enlightening the children about their heritage, their legacy, and their Americanness, because a lot of them do not know that they're Americans. So what we have, we do outreach with the children. We tell them about the history, about the Americans, and how we fought how our ancestors fought for the freedom and how we ended up here. What we have been doing over the time to educate the children, we've been doing poetry competitions with the secondary schools, and then we started an art competition with the primary school, all with American themes. So they had to go and do their research and write their poems about Americans. And the children too had to do their art about American way of life. So we have been doing our part within the American community to enlighten our children and to educate them about their legacy and their heritage and Americanness.
That's great. Does everybody here know what the American community is? Does everybody here know? Everybody knows? No, people don't know. So sister, you want to say that there were freed Africans here before emancipation. People who fought in the war in America between 1812 and 1815, and yes, it's your story, so you say it.
Okay, the Americans were people, my ancestors, who fought in the War of 1812 for the British against the Americans. The British, they fought for their freedom because they were enslaved in America. So the British lost the war was fought in America, the British lost the war, but they had to keep their promise to give our ancestors freedom from slavery. So the Americans, didn't want them, of course, because they were traitors, they were regarded as traitors, and they were trained mercenaries. So they took them to Canada. Canada didn't want them. They took them to other islands, to the Bahamas. Nobody wanted them. To Bermuda, nobody wanted them. So they came down to Trinidad. They brought them to Trinidad. And in the companies that they fought the war. First company, second company, third company, fourth company, fifth company, and sixth company. Now they throw them in the bush.
There were also some who came to Porter's Bay. There was one company.
Lavantil.
Yes.
Yes, some went to Lavantil, and Lavant was the name of the ship. So they went to Lavantil, some went to Belmont. But the majority of them came, and the last set came in 1816. So they came here, and each family who came got 16 acres of land. So Americans were the first black landowners in Trinidad. Now they banished them in the bush, and they had to survive.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the story of the Americans. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
I want to ask one question, sister.
Use the mic.
Was New Grant a part of the company?
New Grant is fourth company.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, any other questions? Yes.
Hello, good night.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say thank you for your touch on this topic tonight as well. Also, you mentioned before that you were a bit disappointed about the fact that a lot of the youth weren't getting a lot of information. But surprisingly enough, I've been getting a lot of information online, like you mentioned as well, that a lot of sources were online for African culture and African history. So I have been learning a lot as part of the Gen Z, a lot of my black history, but I wasn't aware of all the things with Americans and a lot of the history in Trinidad itself. So I was just like surprised about all of that. I don't really have a question, but if I could get more sources on Trinidad history with the Americans, 4 companies and all that, considering I was like from New Grant and everything. So I was wondering if you could get more sources on history like that in Trinidad.
Yeah, there's a book on the Americans actually. There's an entire book published on the Americans. And there is a wonderful book by a sister called Maureen Warner Lewis called Guinea's Other Sons, which deals with the Yoruba, the history of the Yoruba people in Trinidad and Tobago. There's that book. There's which other one? There are a lot of papers published. I have written a lot. Books. There's Francis Henry books that I talked about earlier. A lot has been written. There is a book by Claudius Fergus called Revolutionary Emancipation. There's a book called Blacks in Rebellion by Richard Hart. A lot of stuff has been written. So maybe I could send a list of sources to you so that you could disseminate and people will read. So if there are no more questions, I will
look here, question here.
One more. The Rada Society, Rada community in Trinidad and Tobago and Belmont, they are part of our history too, yes?
Very much so. In fact, I did write about them to bring information on them. So let me just share it with you. In fact, the leader of the Rada community was punished and beaten under that anti-opium legislation. And they were only talk a little bit about from the whole thing about it. Okay, the Rada community, the founder was a man called Aboshevi Zarweni. He came from Dahomey in 1850s. Eventually adopted the name of Robert Antoine, and the Antoine still run this shrine. He, along with other Rada families, settled in Belmont Valley Road. And the name Rada itself comes from Alada, the ancient capital of Dahomey. So that they founded that community in 1868, the same year that the anti-opium legislation was passed in Trinidad. And Papa Nani, as he was called, and his brother Pointe were persecuted under that act. They were imprisoned and flogged just for practicing African spirituality. The place is still there, the burial ground is still there, they still have festivals and ebos and everything. The shrine is dedicated to the serpent god. One last question.
Look, you might going through.
Greetings to the panel. Good evening, patrons. I have been around and I've been having my DNA explosion and learning myself and my Africanness, where I come from and all of that. Now that's a personal thing. I did history in school. I passed history. And I learned history. My history started with slavery. Now, as an adult, and we in this age of information, I'm reading a lot and getting a lot of information about civilization, and Africans were the only civilization on this earth. Nobody else have ever civilized anywhere but Africans. Now, my thing is, as an educator, what is being done to raise the awareness in the school system for our children to actually learn the facts, have some right knowledge about our history as Africans in Trinidad and in the Caribbean, because we do West Indian history and they ask questions that we write to pass the exam. But we don't know ourselves. A lot of us, we are so asleep in religion that was given to us. They took our religion, fix it, and give it back to us. And we hold on to that with a clutch, you know? And I love my Jesus. You see, he doesn't look like us. He doesn't even look like them, because if you take 10 pictures of Jesus in different areas, and it's different beings that you would see. You wouldn't see the same person. So what we know, we have Ori, we have us. We have to learn about ourselves. We have to, you know, try and wake up our children, pass it on, and educate our children properly so that they will have that self-esteem and know where they came from, where their ancestors came from, so that we can have a better society with the children. Because right now, when you look at it, a lot of people say our children are sort of demons coming on the planet. And they're not good and they all of that, and we could sit. I have experiences of that. I worked in the prison for a long time and I have seen my experience is of that. But it's the education system, and my question is, what is the Emancipation Society really lobbying, and What kind of support do they have? Because here what's going on. I live in Piparo, so a lot of people who hear me over the phone, they think I'm an East Indian person. I don't know why. But the thing about it is that every little event that you have as an East Indian here would have been full. You would have had traffic outside. Look at this here, what we have here now. We hardly have the support. And not only that, another thing with us, too, when we are doing things, we are not disseminating information properly. So is it that we need to change the system in which our organizers, working very hard and all of that, but we need to have people who would be able to actually do a proper job in disseminating information. We were here Friday. They were putting up chairs and stuff. We came back. Today we came early, my sister and I, we came early because we support this. You see? Where is everybody else? Why? So that's just my take, sir.
Okay. Now if I say I'm passing wrong a piece of paper, right? My brother here will sign it. We will send it around to all the people and say we're going in from the Ministry of Education. 8 o'clock, what day, what time? Who coming with me? You know me, right? You know I will do that, right? Everybody is saying, listen, to you brave, you can do that, right? Everybody looking for somebody else to do it. Kafra Kambon is 70-something. I am 78. All of us face how the man named that you just called, you kill it, barrows, guns, and all of that. But all this still expect me to be old tale, right? Where are the ones coming behind who reap all the benefits of 70? Where are all this sitting down and waiting for all N2, all Kambon to do the thing? It's only children that suffer. You see mine? That is mine. You hear how she talking? See about on their own. Or they can't expect me to keep seeing about on their own. It's not right. Right? Find all the information, mind all the business. All the electing leaders all the time, nobody asks anything from them. Or they just take them, the talk, right? Stalin say vampire passing. Mind all the business. Mind all the business.
Well, I would like to say on that note, give a round of applause to our legislative segment handled by Mr. General Hollis and also N2 Post Fernando. I want to say thank you so very much for being part of the Southern Emancipation Festival experience. As we continue in terms of the evening, again you can also have some interaction with her all through the Emancipation Support Committee. Plug your information, your questions. I guess we'll try to connect and send all the information as best as we can through the south body as well as the north body in terms of that. But we would like to continue on the evening programs and we hand over to the music as we get ready for some fashion. So we're getting ready for the fashion component in the segment of the festival, second day running, as we climax tomorrow with Wasafale and the Drumology Experience. Thank you.
Okay, it's very good, right? Makale, Chema, or no, Makale, Lakaimo.
Oh, but turns together, the express from the company is something special, finishing touch, located at St. James Street, San Fernando. At Willoughby's Mall, in particular.
I must confess that the party in my objective, they giving me progress. My darling, would you fly with me international? You go tell me.
And we continue with pieces here on something special, finishing touch at Next Plaza, St. James Street, Willoughby's Mall. General Manager Julie Allen, Operations Manager Julian Allen. If you see, you like, just give a round of applause as we continue.
She love me, you are the best. I want to show them sense in my peace, kind dance to the dance. I'm doing this thing, you do it. I want to know something. Shut up and I'll tell you. Why you do me something? Why you do me something? Shut up and I'll tell you. Why you do me something?
Once again, Rocket 5, located St. James Street, San Fernando, at the Ritz Plaza, Willoughby's Building. Something special, finishing time. Alright, special thank you to the Barbers Courtesy in the house of Jackie. Alright, something special for everyone, any size. Something special you find right at Ritz Plaza in San Fernando, St. James Street, San Fernando. Fashion Courtesy, something special, finishing touch. General Manager Julie Allen, Operations Manager Julie Allen. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, give them, show them a round of applause, make some noise. Don't just only hold the phones, make some noise. If you can, put your hands together and make some noise while you're holding your phone. Fashion's right here at the Southern Emancipation Festival Experience right here in San Fernando with some amazing vendors on the inside. Showcasing presently on stage is something special, finishing touch, located Ritz Plaza in San Fernando. Don't forget, tomorrow we have Wasafuri and the entire drumming experience, a collaboration, a celebration, as we bring the curtains down for our Southern Emancipation celebrations tomorrow right here at Palms Club in San Fernando as we continue with the fashion capsule. You see, you like, you buy. That's our policy on the inside. Alright, I hear it quiet. You only make it noise, but I don't like it though. I thought so. I thought so. You like, you make noise, yes? That's what you do. Scream if you want to. Alright, so we're getting ready for another fashion capsule. You all ready for more? Your show coming up, that concludes our capsule segment of something special, finishing touches at the pieces you just saw. Next designer coming up is Chemo. She's also has a boot on the inside. You can look for her logo right behind you. Chemo design. She's coming up in a very short matter of minutes. She's coming on the inside. So you can make some noise as we have the fashion capsule right here at the South Emancipation Festival Village happening at OW2 Palms Club in San Fernando, bringing the love of the South to our emancipation experience. Yes? Alright, so give it up. It's Chemo Design. Chemo Designs on the inside. Don't forget she has a boot right here. You can see her logo, beautiful adorned mannequin, fully covered on the inside. I didn't hear nobody. Let's make some noise like design. I want to hear all that. Again, models came to see the House of Jackie, longest modeling agency in San Fernando, and great impact nationally and internationally. Again, this is our fashion component as we get ready for. Don't forget to visit the different designers, the different booths that is on the floor this evening. Again, they'll be here tomorrow. We have so much happening as we climax with Wasafili on the inside. And don't forget, we got something for every woman on the inside. So give it up as we continue to present something from the design house, Chemo Designs. You can find this and much more right here at her booth. Right behind you on the inside. Just look for her logo. It's some colorful mannequin standing right behind you. Oh yes. We continue with more Chemo Designs on the inside. Come on, the designer needs to hear you. Make some noise. You see it looks locally done stuff here in Trinidad and Tobago. We can see ourselves anywhere. We gotta be able to invest in ourselves, buy us, support us, made for us.
I'll be rich till I die.
Wonderful. So as she keeps modeling and showcasing the different colors, the flares of the outfit on the inside, we are right here at the Southern Emancipation Festival Village in San Fernando as we're giving you the fashion capsule of night 2 of our fashion experience right here in San Fernando as we are celebrating emancipation, the emancipation experience right here in Trinidad and Tobago. More experience and more wonderful stuff coming on the inside as we bring up the next model is coming on from the design house of Chemo Designs.
Tomorrow is not promised, but I'll keep the things that I need. Love is in the air.
And we're getting ready for the next design. Ready? Let's go, let's go. And we're going with a resort field. Keep moving, come on, give me some noise for them. The fermentation on the inside. Again, you can check out Kimo. She has a good right on the inside. Right on the inside. Alright, so we continue more of Kimo designs on the inside. Yeah? Come on, you make some noise for Kimo as she continues on. So that's Kimo designs on the inside, showcasing all the different options that you can get from this designer. She also has a booth on the inside at the fashion experience here at the South Trinidad as she continues a wonderful jumpsuit design. Hit the runway. So come on, let's make some noise for a beautiful jumpsuit on the inside, courtesy Kimo Designs. The models this evening from the model House of Jackie, phenomenal house, design house, and the model house here in Trinidad and Tobago. Alright, that's Kimo Designs. Kimo Designs. Alright, and we are definitely getting ready for more fashions on the inside. More fashions on the inside. Yeah? Continuing with Kimo Designs. Alright, come on, give it up for the design house. Kimo Designs. Again, you can check out Kimo Designs on the inside as we also getting ready for our next design house coming up in our capsule section. Are you liking what you're seeing so far? Are you sure about that? You're positive, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, don't forget. And like you said, the beginning was a link, yeah? Yeah, we're getting ready for it. I've seen everything before here. Everything before here. Yeah? So we put the house. BU Designs. You bring your hands, sting your palms, make some noise. BU need to hear all of it before they come out. Then, come on, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. BU Designs, another design house. Come on, give them the love. BU Designs. making the noise, they're making the noise. BU Designs. Come on, man, I ain't nobody making it, but they get lost, they get quiet. Show them the love, show them the love. BU Designs, you can also find them on Facebook. You just type in BU Design and also Instagram. They have a strong, aggressive updating their pages ever so often related to everything happening on the inside, especially today for Father's Day. So they got something in this collection for everyone, for women of any age, guys also as well on the inside. So you keep sharing the love of BU Design. Yes, man, okay. Continue with BU Design. Getting ready as we continue with the design house, BU Design. On the inside, we just completed showcasing another designer, which was Pino. Don't forget that we also showcasing Pino designs earlier. We're also doing BU Design. And the accessories on the runway would be the bag line, which is inspired by Ashley. She also has a blue model inside. Ashley #1 bag to the inside for everything bag is for Tinkerbell. She has it for you on the inside, right here at the South Emancipation Village Experience in San Fernando. And as we continue with the BU Designs, BU Design.
DJ Cisco, the Mix Master.
Design house, BU Design. Don't forget you can find them on Facebook as well as on Instagram. We're getting ready for our next fashion capsule coming up on the inside. You ready for more? I guess you're not ready for more. You sure, Mama? Them coming real soft boy. I think that guy is soft or something. Ready for that? Experience right here in San Fernando. Night 2 of our fashion capsules. Models courtesy the House of Jackie. We have so many booths as we're getting ready for the climax of our experience tomorrow. The Wasifoli, the drum experience, the dancers, the limbo drumming, the African drumming, everything you can think about that's going to be coming tomorrow. Don't forget to come in on the inside. The market opens from 10 a.m. tomorrow and we climax at anywhere around 4 or 5 p.m. So don't forget to be on the inside with this experience. So are you all ready? You sure? Are you sure? You're sure you ready? Coming on stage, next design house at the inside booth, we bring on model #1 in her segment. And we continue with the fashion segment. Come on, sing it, man, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget the bags that they wore this evening. The stickers say Ashley one bag was on the inside. You can't miss up. Bright smile. Bags for any occasion. You can just bags for the money you earn, for the money you get away with, for the money you take, for the money you keep. She's got a bag for everything. Alright, put your hands together as we move on our next model on stage. With looks to the sea, the different groups here on the inside at the Southern Constitution Festival Village in Santander, located at Palms Club. Again, don't forget tomorrow we have the village opening from 10 a.m. with so many creative and crafts and food and entertainment performances. We also have spoken word and many things happening on the inside. We have cultural performances, dancers, and an amazing group. Rastafari is on the inside with a drumming experience, getting ready for the climax of the Sound Emancipation Festival celebrations. So put your hands together and make some noise as we bring the curtain down for capsule 2 of our fashion segment this evening with the models House of Jackie with the collection. First we show Kimo Designs, we also show BU, and we also show other designs on the inside, something special with finishing touch. And we're rounding off with another design in the name on the inside. I don't have any right now, but I'm going to get it. And also Ashley bags as we're going to do our final walk. So put your hands together and give it up to the models this evening. You did an amazing job. And that you're seeing on stage is Iyabo Fashion. Give it up for Iyabo Fashion. They are also on the booth on the inside. Looks courtesy Iyabo Fashion. Accessories, Ashley, Bonsa. And give it up to our beautiful models who came down the runway and Sashay Chantel. This concludes our fashion festival segment as we hand it back to the music as you all parade through the floor, interact with the different booths and some of the amazing crafts and products they have on the inside.
starting to discuss, cause I think when you buy it, you found and without, when for me, I be a doubt, I no go feed the job, I no go feed the choice out, my mind is ripped up, I put my life into my job, and I know I'm drunk, she manipulate my love, I know holy, and I know that
Very good. Better than yesterday. Alright. Do you have tomorrow too? Yeah, I don't